As many of you saw in my last video, my rabbits started fighting very badly, so I had to separate them. One of them was in the rabbit room, while another one was in a 4x4 pen inside of the rabbit room. I was switching them off about every 12 or maybe 24 hours, so they were both getting time in the rabbit room, but they had to be separated. It's actually been about a week and a half since that happened. I wanted to wait a little bit to upload it because I knew a lot of you would be curious and want updates, so I'm actually ready to give updates now. Throughout the time that they were together, as in they were in the same area separated by a fence, there was still quite a bit of fighting and scuffling between the bars. The first step in this rebonding process is going to be to completely clean out the rabbit room, which as you can see, I'm doing. And while I'm doing that, I did let them out just to see how they would be together. They started fighting, so they're separated. And what I've set up now is their playpen like this. So this is a 2x2 box, which is obviously tiny for long term. But just for, I think it's gonna be like another hour and a half for me to clean it. While I'm cleaning it, I'm gonna leave them both in here. This is really good because they're going to be completely separated, but they're also forced to be around each other. I just added in Sachin. As you can see, they're kind of ignoring each other and each doing their own thing, which is a good sign. I'm sure Sachin is definitely gonna piss off Bachchan or the other way around eventually. When I do this really small setup, since it's just for a really short period of time, I don't like to do water or a litter box or anything. I think the litter boxes can make them feel extra territorial because they use their poop and pee to mark their territory. And then with the water, I always find that they knock over the water dishes, which makes a really huge mess, and then they just end up soaked. So I feel worse adding it in. When it comes to animals, there's no right or wrong way to do anything, just do what works. This is what I feel good doing, and it's just going to be like for an hour and a half maximum, so I think they'll be fine. I got distracted from cleaning, so haven't made any progress on that, but the rabbits have been together for a little bit, so I'm going to try opening it up just to see what they're going to act. So far, they seem to do okay to be right next to each other, but I still notice a little bit of, they'll put their face through the cage and they'll kind of like nip at each other, but here, that's a good example. I'm gonna open it, just one sec. So I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but they both kind of look at each other and then they put their head down, which I'm pretty sure is them like wanting to be groomed. And then sometimes one will bite the other one, but a good sign is that they're both like going to put their head down and just wait. I want to see if I can capture it, but I don't think they're gonna do it right now. Okay, dun. Okay. So far, so good. This is good. I'm happy with them just being tolerant of each other. Oh. Yeah, no. Okay. So they were together like less than 30 seconds, and this is already how much fur was pulled out. So definitely not gonna try that again for a bit. This is what I mean by they both put their heads right to the bars and they kind of just look down. Oh, there's another example. So Sachin's head is down. He's waiting for Bachchan to groom him. Bachchan is not really interested in grooming, but at least he's not biting him, so it's not the worst. So I'm in the middle of doing a super thorough cleaning, and for me that includes taking everything outside of the room except the sugar glider cage because it literally will not fit outside the door. But I do clean everything else, and I wanted to show you guys this little trick because I feel like a lot of people don't know this. But if you have a lot of hair in your carpet, you can actually use the same like dustpan and broom to like pick it up, and then from here you can either vacuum it or you can just pick it up with your hands. But yeah, that's just a little tip to clean the carpets because I never knew this for like way too long. Another example, this is like where I used to have one of the wood slabs, so this is pretty normal carpet, and over here you guys can see there's tons of hair. So grab your brush, and even though the carpet doesn't look that bad on camera, just actually start brushing it for a few minutes. Can you guys see all that hair that's coming out? It's crazy. Rabbits shed so much. Okay, so this is the room set up. I have Bachchan in the small cage again. I do swap them out, but I just added him in here for tonight. I don't know why. It's so hard to choose. I feel so bad for who's ever in the little cage. The room looks very different. I try to remove a lot of the things that they could jump on because I don't want them to jump onto something and somehow get into each other's cage and cause a fight. And I tried to move this cage in the middle of the room so that way they have a lot more opportunity to interact with each other. They were kind of next to each other all day, so I don't want to try any more bonding today. But from tomorrow, I'm going to first start with stress bonding because just putting them together obviously did not work. So I think we need to do a little bit more drastic things to get them to get along. I also did decide to put their litter boxes apart. In the old setup, their litter boxes were right next to each other, which was kind of working, but there was quite a bit of like territorial marking and peeing, which I'm sure there'll still be, but at least if the litter boxes are apart, I hope at least Sachin will be better about using it. I think Bachchan is still probably going to pee everywhere. Oh, that's actually really cute. They're trying to be together. I think a lot of people assume that rabbit relationships are either like on and off, and I think it's very important to acknowledge that these two, they're both neutered males. They were bonded together like 2 years. It was a little bit on and off, and then they were really good for like 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, and then they just recently had this falling out. And even during this falling out, they're definitely not fighting 24/7. Some days they're completely fine. I see them flopped right next to the cage. And then other times, they're just attacking each other. I think it's kind of a situation where when you're just with one other person for a long time in an enclosed space, you all kind of just get sick of each other. I'm hoping that this change of scenery will make things a little bit better. And I'm definitely going to be providing a lot more enrichment opportunities in their cage. I'm kind of really curious to see how they'll be together now that the room's been like completely cleaned out. And Sachin seems very intent on wanting to be near Bachchan. It looks kind of like Bachchan usually starts the attack and then Sachin continues it. So I wonder if it might be worse trying to get them together. I just hate ending off like bonding sessions or days on a bad note. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Oh, and Bachchan's water dish is upstairs. I guess we can do a little bit of like a cage tour. So this pen is a little over 12 square feet and he has a bigger litter box and more hay because he just has less to do. He has IKEA doll bed, this woven cardboard mat, and then a little thing of cardboard toys and some baby links. I didn't want to add anything high on the cage because I don't want the potential of him jumping on something and jumping out. I don't think it would happen, but when rabbits are territorial and they're angry at each other, you just don't want to take any risks. Bachchan looks very distracted with the hay, so I'm just going to try to add Sachin and see what, oh, they're already paying attention to each other. Okay, never mind, I take that back. That was a terrible idea. It was, again, like literally 10 seconds in, they're already fighting. If you're guys wondering why I'm recording this, I'm just recording it on my phone with one hand, so it's not really distracting my attention. And I'm trying to show you guys the behavior, but also I record all of their bonding sessions because I feel like when you're watching it, like in the moment, it's really hard to be objective. And I like to go back and look at the footage so I can see like actually what's happened, like who attacks who, I don't know, like what triggered the attack, if it was like straight on attack or maybe someone was like sniffing something. So I'm gonna go back through and look at the footage and decide how I want to approach it tomorrow, but I'm definitely done tonight. I think they've had a long night, I've had a long night. I just have to get Bachchan's water dish and we're gonna close up for the night. Oh, and I still have to feed the sugar gliders. I added the fleece back in behind the cage and now I feel like it looks complete again. I really wanted to show the sugar gliders, but they're all the way up there. And this is my eye level, so I guess no sugar gliders in this video. I have a whole playlist of videos with them if you guys are interested. I just added their food in their cage, so they'll come and eat it probably in like an hour or so. I can show the bunnies. I hope that counts. I hope you guys enjoyed this like kind of impromptu vlog just on like making the sugar gliders food. It's really not so bad. Just research the diet. I still feel like it's confusing, so I might do like a more in-depth video on it, but just wanted to get some content out. Okay, well, thank you guys. See you next time. Bye. So I think it's been about 8 hours since we last saw the bunnies. So far, no one has peed outside the cage, which is pretty good. I still feel like they're trying to interact a lot through the bars. They were kind of flopping next to each other when I came in, but I'm not going to try to put them together yet. So yeah, I guess it's an update. You guys can tell just by how much more poop there is that there's still obviously a lot of territorial behavior going on. Seems to be more from Butchin than Sachin, but Butchin the Lop has always been a little bit worse with his litter box, so I'm not sure if that's why or he's actually trying to mark his territory. If you guys see the way Butchin is kind of, or just was focused in on Sachin, that's not a very good sign, so I'm not going to be putting them together right now. I think I would rather them spend a little bit more time relaxing during the day, and then we can try some stress bonding at night. See that position right there? He is on high alert, and it might look like they're calm, but they're really not that calm. I think Sachin is pretty calm. Butchin is definitely on edge. Okay, so it's nighttime again. Haven't really... I don't know if you guys heard the sugar gliders crapping. I haven't really done any updates. I still feel like everyone looks really territorial and on edge, but I kind of want to do a stress bonding situation tonight because sometimes I feel like the longer these things linger, the worse that it gets. So I still want them to remember their bond because right now they do still like occasionally groom each other and like flop near the cage. So I think that's a good sign. I'm going to try a stress bonding situation, so I guess we'll see how that goes. Actually, I think I just missed it on camera, but they're literally fighting through, okay. They're literally fighting through the bars. It's good that the bars are there because they can't really hurt each other, but it's also not really great that they're fighting. I was thinking about not doing the stress bonding tonight because it's kind of a long day for me, but I think it would be really good if I did it because I think the longer I wait, the worse off this is just going to get. I actually decided against doing the stress bonding session right now because it's literally 2 a.m. and even if I did it now, I would still have to leave them separated overnight because I can't monitor them at 2 a.m. when I'm about to sleep. And I think I need to do a little bit more research on bonding. I feel like a lot of times I like to play things by ear, but I feel like it just has been getting worse, and I definitely want to watch some videos online and look at some Facebook posts just to see what other people have had success with, because I think it's really important to acknowledge that you don't know everything. Like, they have a lot of really good moments like this, and there's other times where they're literally nipping at each other through the cage bars. So I think when you're doing the bonding process, you want to take things really slow and make sure that you're approaching it properly, because if you mess things up, that can be really damaging to the relationship. And I'm not going to say that if you mess up things that they're never going to bond, but it can take a lot longer and take a lot more steps. And obviously my goal is to get them back together ASAP. So I would rather spend an extra day, do the proper research, and then approach to bonding. Also, one of you guys asked about the sugar gliders and how it's been a while. This is Piglet. You want to come here? I don't have any food, I'm sorry. Just love. Just tons of love to give. And I think all the other sugar gliders are asleep. What I will do is I'll switch out the rabbits, because I think part of the reason they're fighting is because Butchin's been cooped up in this cage for like 24 hours. So he's probably a little bit stressed out. I was trying to rotate them every 12 hours, but I feel like that was just making them really territorial since like right once they were establishing their territory, they were switched out. So I wanted to try 24 and see if that was a little bit better. I still feel like there's a lot of territorial poop, so I'm not really sure if that's helping, but I feel like that Butchin definitely needs to get out in the bigger space. So I'll swap them now. Okay, so now Sachin is in the small cage, and Butchin is over there. I think he just needed that time to run around and stretch his legs properly. This is over the bare minimum, but it's still a pretty small cage in my opinion, and the rabbits need at least 6 hours of free roam time every day at the bare minimum, so I'm glad that I can let him out to run around. And I'm going to come back in the morning. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm going to come back in the morning and see how they're doing. I really want to do a stress bonding thing tomorrow. Obviously, I'll do more research and see if that's really the best approach, but I think that's the way I'm going to go. So I'm going to end the vlog here. I am going to fully document the rebonding process and kind of everything that goes into it and what it takes. I think this could be a really informational video because I think a lot of the bonding videos on YouTube that I've seen are from 101 Rabbits, and they're quite a bit dated because she bonded her rabbits a while ago, and there's a couple things on there like putting your rabbits in tubs to bond that I really don't agree with. So yeah, I'm really excited to work on making an updated bonding video. I think that'll be really helpful. Yeah, I guess that's everything. I also wanted to address a few concerns from my previous video. Looking back, I think the video was a little bit confusing because I was so extremely flustered when I made it. I knew I wanted to document it, but I think a lot of the things I said were kind of just confusing, especially for newer viewers. So just to answer a couple questions. Firstly, Sachin and Bachchan were successfully bonded for almost 2 years on and off. They were separated a little bit prior to their surgery, but even right after, they were able to be put together and do completely fine. So they're actually very close. They have a very close bond. I'm not really sure what happened the day that they fought. Another question is, did they have signs of fighting leading up to this? Honestly, I was in finals, so I definitely could have missed something. But in my experience, whenever I was in the rabbit room, I never saw any major territorial behavior or fighting. I've always discussed in my videos how some things like keeping the litter boxes together or having like one water station isn't always ideal for the fact that rabbits can get territorial. And if I had noticed anything like that, I definitely would have taken smaller precautions like switching up the setup or adding some more enrichment or keeping the litter boxes apart. But again, I honestly didn't see anything. Do I have any idea what caused the fight? Not really. I think this, again, needs a fully in-depth video because it's very confusing. But even when rabbits are neutered, that doesn't mean that they don't have hormones. And for male rabbits, they do still have testosterone. You're literally just snipping off one part of the body. That's not going to make them completely not have hormones. And also, not all aggression is caused by hormones. A lot of it is just learned behavior or things that are instinctual. Another thing a lot of people express concern about is the fact that these were two males that were bonded. Most people have the most success with male and female bonds, but I feel like that's not super factual just because it's a word of mouth. And obviously, if you have a male and are looking to get a bonded partner, I would always recommend a female, but I've seen countless examples of two males that have bonded happily. Even my sugar gliders, I actually have 4 bonded sugar gliders that are all males, and prior to Mocha passing away, there were 5 bonded male sugar gliders, and they did completely fine. In my experience, I think males can bond just as closely and do just as well. Even guinea pigs, for example, a lot of people have success with having male herds, even that are unneutered. Even though not all male-on-male bonds will be successful, I do have a really good feeling about the two of them because they have been bonded in the past. And again, even now when they're fighting a little bit, they do still have a lot of good moments and enjoy spending time with each other. So I think that's a really good sign. In the case that they don't bond together, I'm prepared to house both of them separately. I'll probably do a situation where I split the rabbit room in half. And I might have to do a pen like this if they still enjoy each other's company, or obviously if they're fighting very badly, I can have something with a solid wall so that they can't really see each other. Again, the situation isn't ideal because I do think that rabbits thrive on companionship. So I really think that they'll bond again, but it's impossible to know. And another question a lot of people ask is if this can happen to their bonded rabbits and anything like that. To be honest, any social species can fight. It's kind of the question like, does this animal bite? Well, every animal with teeth has the potential to bite, and every social species has the potential to not get along. It doesn't seem to be super likely in some bonds. I feel some bonds are just more unstable than others. I think Haley from 101 Rabbits is a really good example of this. She used to have 3 rabbits, Mocha, Lulu, and Ebony, and they all 3 were bonded. And she said before how Lulu and Ebony never really had a great bond, and I think there were times where she actually had to separate Lulu and Ebony. But after Mocha passed away, Lulu and Ebony had a really terrible bond, and now Ebony is bonded to Sterling very happily. So I think just some rabbit bonds aren't as stable as others. I'm not really sure what their bond will be like. It could be very possible that these guys will always just have a very uneasy bond, and I'll always have to take precautions like keeping litter boxes apart or just separating them during certain seasons. But another major factor in my rabbits is their age. Sachin is, I think, going to be 4, which is crazy because I feel like I just got him. And Bachchan is going to be 2. So Bachchan is kind of reaching his like peak sexual age, and Sachin is almost becoming a senior rabbit. So I think in these times, it's very normal that the hierarchy will change. So again, I definitely need a more in-depth video, but I hope that answers some of your questions. Also, I'm so embarrassed to watch that video back, but I'm sure there are other things that I didn't do the best approach in. I know that I had Coco roaming around this room for a large portion of that video, and that's obviously so far from ideal. When 2 rabbits are already on edge, the last thing you want is to have a dog just to add even more stress. So that's another thing that I don't really agree with. Also, no one has really brought this up, but I think it's a very valid concern about why I didn't decide to completely separate the rabbits and why they're still in the presence of each other. Again, these guys have had a very stable bond and been very happily bonded for quite some time. And even though they did have one fight that looks pretty severe, maybe like in our human eyes, in terms of rabbits, that fight really isn't that severe at all because rabbits have the potential to kill each other. So if they really didn't like each other, the fight would have been so much worse. I think that fight is probably one of the more extreme ends for a bonded pair, but again, it's nothing like what two territorial rabbits who had never seen each other. A fight for those rabbits would be a lot worse than what they had. I would say what they had is more like a falling out, maybe like a really bad fight with a friend, but it's definitely not a situation like where you're in war and you're fighting till the end. I hope that makes sense. I feel like these are terrible analogies, but what I'm trying to say is even though the fight looks severe for us, and it was quite a severe fight, it seems, in my opinion, quite typical of what bonded rabbits can have. If there were things that I should have done differently, I'm definitely open to criticism. I'm not perfect. I just try to do things that feel natural to me and my rabbits, but I've never gone to school for anything animal behavior related. I'm definitely not an expert. I just try to do research where I can. So I'm sure there's things that I can improve on, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Well, that's it from me. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for all the positive feedback in my previous video and giving me the benefit of the doubt. I feel like everyone for the most part was super polite, and I hope that video doesn't scare you guys from getting your rabbit a bonded partner. I think this is something that you should definitely be prepared for because, again, every single social species has the potential to fight, but especially male and female bonds, and especially bonds that are done by shelters where the people are very experienced, they're not going to send you home with an unstable bonded pair. So in a situation like that, I really wouldn't worry. But if you are someone who's looking to get a second rabbit for your first rabbit, just know that these things do have the potential to happen. Okay, that's everything from me. Bye, guys.